Yoshida, also known as Yoshi P, also known as the director and producer of Final Fantasy XIV, has said some interesting things over the past few weeks. The first is in an interview with Famitsu, a popular gaming magazine from Japan. This translation was done by a Reddit user named MKL by 1998, and Yoshida says, "I regret as we've continued to operate Final Fantasy XIV, we've made the game more comfortable, a game you can play without stress, but looking back on the last 10 years, I'm thinking we've overdone that a bit." So, I haven't been playing for 10 years, and I can't comment on how it used to be, but I do agree that right now, outside of the endgame content, it is pretty easygoing and stress-free. Like, when you look at the zones, for example, they are beautifully designed with gorgeous vistas and amazing music, but I've never felt like I was in any danger, that I had to be careful or I die. I actually can't recall ever dying while leveling or exploring. It's the same thing with the dungeons. You know, I love the dungeons, and I think they offer a lot of good stuff. The visuals and the spectacle are fantastic, the boss encounters have amazing models, great animations, and I genuinely enjoy doing them. But they are pretty easy. The threat of personally dying is pretty low, and the trash mobs are basically just fodder to use your AoE on. So Yoshi P wanting to give everyone a better challenge, I think that sounds awesome, and I really look forward to seeing what they come up with. The funny thing is, I've seen this happen before, in World of Warcraft for Cataclysm. So the developers thought they had made World of Warcraft too easy over the years and wanted to make it a challenge again, so they cranked up the difficulty. And for a time, the dungeons were putting up a real fight. You could easily wipe on the trash mobs and bosses. You had to play well and pay attention. Personally, I thought that was great, but many players were not happy. They couldn't clear the content they used to be able to, and many quit because of it. Now, I only mention this because I think it's interesting how many times Final Fantasy XIV and World of Warcraft cross paths like that. I don't think for a second Yoshida would repeat that mistake. They are well aware of the player base, and Yoshida said their aim was to balance the difficulty to be a fun challenge for everyone. Now, I didn't see this mentioned, but I'd also love to see more stress added to the storytelling. Don't get me wrong, I love the story, and I think it can evoke a lot of different emotions. But lately, I've been feeling like our main cast has been clad in plot armor so thick that I never feel any tension anymore, even when the writers want me to. Dangerous situations feel a lot less dangerous when everyone always gets out of it, no worse for wear. Anyways, Yoshi P also said something pretty interesting during PAX East 2024 about sleeping through content.
And in terms of battle mechanics, they tend to be very similar content to content, and some people might feel that it's very repetitive, feels like a pattern almost. And of course, it might help if you are trying to build your gameplay experience and try to get a hang of it. But for some players, me included, I kind of get sleepy because it kind of gets routine and mundane.
So I'm still pretty new to raiding. I only started seriously raiding this expansion, so this hasn't been an issue for me. I've been really enjoying how you learn a mechanic and then see it used in different ways on different encounters. I felt like it made learning the mechanic that much more rewarding. Now, with all that being said, and even with my limited raiding experience here, I have noticed that the mechanics can become pretty routine. Like, for example, the most complicated mechanic on Savage Kakitos has him doing a limit cut while also marking players as bombs and kicking balls across the screen like Jamie Tart that need to be intercepted. So it's an intensely chaotic sequence with a lot to take in and learn. But it's also a pattern, and once you learn the pattern and the timing, it does become pretty routine. Now, I don't think that's a bad thing. I actually love these kinds of mechanics. I enjoy learning the patterns and seeing everyone moving in perfect unison. It's cool, it's fun. But having more variety with the mechanics would also be cool and fun. Like, I think it would be awesome if they created new mechanics that are more dynamic in nature, where your ability to assess the situation from moment to moment and make decisions on the fly are tested. Mechanics more about your situational awareness and reaction, and less about memorizing the patterns and movements. I think it would also be cool to see more mechanics that required manipulating objects. There was a boss in Shadowlands that had you do that. You needed to pick up seeds and move them around so they weren't on fertile land, so that way they didn't turn into ads. Another thing I think would be really cool in raids is platforming. That was also done in a dungeon before, and I think it could be so much fun if you had to run a gauntlet in a raid where you have to run across beams and jump across platforms while dodging different things. Kind of like the Fall Guy event, but here if you fail, you die and wipe. What Yoshida said could also apply to the job rotations. Many of those are relatively static, from the button presses to how your resources fill. So that can also become routine and mundane. And the way I think you would change that is by adding more random procs. Like for example, on Red Mage, maybe you could have a proc that suddenly gives you a boon to your black or white magic. So now you have to start casting the opposite to balance it out. I would also love to see new gameplay mechanics added, like the energy and combo point system. That's one of my favorites. I find the interplay between monitoring your energy and building combo points to be really fun, and I feel like the Viper job would be perfect for that. So yeah, I'm excited to see what the developers have in store for us. They want to increase the overall difficulty, which I'm all for, and giving us more variety with the raid encounters sounds awesome. I'm still basically in the honeymoon phase with raiding, so it's still all really fresh for me. With that being said, even I can see how it could become routine. But what do you all think? Is the game too easy? Do you think they need to make it harder? And do you think raiding has become too routine? Are you looking forward to seeing how they will spice things up? What kind of mechanics do you think would be cool? So that will be all for this one. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, bye!